Hi, it's a beautiful day at the end of March and it's really important that now's the time to start thinking about getting your roses pruned. Now, we always prune in the autumn time, and the reason for that is to make sure that all the old flowers are taken off the plant, and that then avoids any windrock. What will happen in the winter time with those big flower heads on, even if they're dead, the wind will catch them and the whole plant will start moving around, creating a bit of an impression around the stem of the rose, and that's where the frost can get in and do damage to the roots of the plant. Now, roses can get damaged by cold, much as they're a very tough plant, so it's important to make sure that the plant is taken down a little bit. Anything up to about a quarter of the rose growth can come off in the autumn time, and that then makes sure that the rose is nice and happy through the winter. But of course, that's not all the pruning that you have to do, and springtime is the ideal time to get the rose right, ready for the season. Now, I always advocate not pruning too hard with roses, and I've got very good reasons for that. The textbook way, and what a lot of people will tell you how to prune a rose, is to make sure you prune it very low to the ground, and what that does is encourage the plant to produce lots of nice new shoots, and from those shoots, of course, in the summertime you will get lots of flowers. The flowers will be large, and of course they'll be beautiful, but from my point of view, I like to have as many flowers as possible rather than the biggest ones. I don't grow for showing, and my garden's really just there for flower power, so it is important I get lots of roses. The way to do that is not to prune hard, okay? What you'll do by pruning lightly is you'll discourage very soft, very fast growth, and it's that soft, fast growth which will lead to more disease problems than pruning it the way I'm going to show you. If you get mildew, if you get rust, or if you get black spot, it's quite hard to control those through the season unless you're spraying regularly, and I don't like to do that, so I like to try and make sure that the way I prune roses leads to as little problems as possible through the season. So after the autumn prune that you see here, I do very, very little pruning. There are various things that you should be looking out for in the springtime, and the way I was taught at college is to look for the dead, diseased and damaged growth, what they used to call the 3 Ds: dead, diseased and damaged growth. So I can see there's a piece of dead stem here, and it's important that that comes out completely, because any dead growth will lead to disease on the plant. And when it comes to taking it off, take it back as far as you can see to where the growth is alive, and you'll see from the inside of the tissue, I'm not sure if the camera can make it out, it's completely brown, very dry, no growth in there whatsoever, so that's never going to grow again. So look out the rows for all of the dead growth that you can see on there. There's not an awful lot on here, but the winter has killed a few stems off. So there's a little bit just there, and through there. Of course, I should be wearing gloves. You should do that at home, but just be very careful if you're not. So that's the dead growth. Diseased is very similar. If you see any signs of problems on the stems, again, take those out very, very quickly. This is a rose called Lady Emma Hamilton. It's a David Austin rose, beautiful fragrance. It's a peachy tangerine colour, and in my opinion, one of his top 2 roses for fragrance. It's absolutely fantastic, but it's a healthy rose, doesn't suffer from too many problems. So disease growth, to be honest with you, at this stage, there's nothing there at all. And of course then the other growth is damaged, so if it's been rubbing, if it's got broken through the winter time, again, just remove that straight away. Now, there's a lot of talk about angles on pruning and which angle you should make when you take the cut. And of course, if you go into Europe, Germany particularly, when they use roses as hedges, they don't have guys using secateurs to prune, they use tractors and flail mowers. But from the point of view of keeping your rose as healthy as possible, you do want to pay a little bit of attention to the angles of the cut. And the only thing that you need to remember is when you take a cut down to a new shoot, make sure the angle runs away from that shoot and not towards it. What it will do then is encourage any rain that sits on the bud to run away from the bud and not hurt it if it gets too wet, and particularly if it gets frozen in the springtime. That's basically how you prune roses in spring.